Hey, and this guy over here, over there, is,
I'm Aaron Tomlinson.
and we have a guy joining us below, and I'll introduce him because this cat is, first of all, he's one of my best friends. He's my brother. He's my homie. We're from Detroit. He's my shipmate. We were in the Navy, right?
Yes, sir.
We were both pastors in the Phoenix area, but he is now an author, a life coach, a professional speaker and trainer. And this brother's name is Darryl L. Rivers. I want y'all to give it up for him. And Darryl, before we do that, let's talk about what's in the glass.
Well. I think y'all been at this a little bit before me, so I'll do the honors of going last because I think mine is the weakest. You know what I'm saying? So, y'all the flashbangs, man. I just come in afterwards, man. So, what you got, Big D?
Man, I have a bullet old fashioned.
Oh, I love old fashions, man.
Yeah,
I love old
I was
fashions.
just in the
Aaron,
mood for it.
what you can you top that, Aaron?
I can because this is basically an old fashioned, but I call it a dirty leprechaun.
A dirty leprechaun. Well, we know a dirty
Here's
leprechaun
why.
probably ain't green.
Here's why. Yeah, I didn't green, but here's why. It's Guinness beer, uh, simple syrup. So you mix up some maple brown sugar with Guinness beer and boil it, and that's your simple syrup. And then I've got some chocolate bitters and some Jameson Irish whiskey in it. So.
Oh man, now I feel so basic right now, man, because I have a Michelob, bro. I mean, I feel like a sausage in a steakhouse, man. Like what?
No, dog. It's okay because you just came in. You just got out of the car. You didn't have time to get to the bar and throw.
Right.
Because
Right.
I saw the pictures of your bar, right? So I was
Bar's
like really
nice.
impressed by that, right?
The bar is
So
nice.
yeah, so I know you got skills and I know you got some stuff, but you just didn't have time to prepare, and that's cool.
Thanks for giving me an excuse, man. Hey, hey, they say the worst excuse is a good one, and that was a good one, man. I rock with you any day, Derrick, man. You know that.
Right on.
Right on, right on. Well,
So,
hey, I see
so here,
everybody
here's
popping
the
in.
deal. Daryl, what I want to do is like, and I don't know if I mentioned this in your intro or not, but Daryl is also a former Detroit Police Department officer and a Goodyear, Arizona police officer, and he's retired from both, right?
Yep.
And so I wanted to make sure that I give that shout out as well because let me say this right. People use the acronym ACAB, all cops are bad, and here's the thing. I don't think I use that acronym, but let me say this right. I believe that not all cops are bad, but I believe all departments are bad. that's
Yep.
that's my that's my
They have
take.
bad. If they're not completely bad, they got bad in them.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
you
but
know.
but but
So,
anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because Daryl, this is a cat that has like a lot of experience. I always say that I've had a very interesting life, a wide range of experiences and all of that. But Aaron, the conversations that you and I have, Daryl and I have these same kind of conversations. They're lengthy, they're very detailed, and we go through stuff, and we always learn something new about each other and something new just in general. So let me just say this. I said this in the green room, and I said I was going to say it again here before I kick it over to you, Daryl. Is that the two of you guys y'all are like my brothers. I mean, no shit, all bullshit aside, you guys are like two of my best friends in the world. I love you guys. I admire you. I honor you, and the fact that I'm able to have both of you guys like in the same virtual space at the same time, man, is a fucking honor to me.
right on, brother. Well, hey, man, I appreciate it, man. We've been A1 since day one, man. So, I
Right on.
appreciate it, man. Aaron, it's great to connect with you, man. Any brother of his is a brother of mine, So I just really appreciate the opportunity to come in and share a little something here and there, and hopefully uh, provide different insights and my particular journey and how I view life and how I decide not to view life. So yeah, man, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
All right, so let me hit you up with the obvious one, right? Because we all share one common thread, and that is that we are all former pastors. All
Yes,
three of us are
yes.
former pastors. And I met you when you were the pastor and chief apostle of the powerhouse. And
Yes.
Who's
so
the
I want to
possible?
start. I want to start
Damn.
there. Like, what was your journey? Because we all have a journey, like going into religion, but we also have a journey coming out of it. And I want to hear about that journey coming out of it because there's a lot of people that are watching this that are deconstructing right now, and I think that what you share tonight will definitely be a blessing to them.
Right on, man. I'm more than happy to do so because my journey, man, it was a roller coaster, man. So I remember, man, you know how it is. I grew up in inner city Detroit, and growing up in inner city Detroit, and I'm not saying that Detroit is something that other, urban inner city areas are not, but Detroit is
But
Detroit, right?
yeah,
So,
could be, could
and,
be.
and and growing up in that particular space, man, my household was completely torn between drug usage and criminal activity and everything. So my childhood was not anywhere near good. It wasn't anywhere near pleasant, and it was just downright bad, right? And I remember sitting on the porch and I think I hadn't eaten all day, and I had a bag of M&Ms. I was like maybe 7 years old, and I'm sitting out there. It was a pretty day and everything like that, and I'm just like, I hear all of these people always talking about God and this and that, and you know what? I just don't believe that this is. Well, my life is like this. Then what is he doing? I didn't do anything to anybody. What's going on? So I remember this. I reached inside of this. I had some peanut M&Ms. I remember this. It was the yellow bag. You got the yellow bag. You got the peanut M&Ms,
Yeah,
right? So
yellow
I'm
bag
going
was
in and
like
I
you were
said,
balling.
exactly. You balling with you got the big ones. You ain't got the little ones. You got the big M&Ms. It got a peanut in there, right? So I remember digging in there, man. I said, if I pull out a yellow M&M, then that means God is real, right? And I'm sitting up here like, ain't no way I'm pulling out a yellow M&M. So what I do, I pull out a yellow M&M, and I'm like, whoa, right? So I'm sitting up here like, oh man, the M&M prophets gave me a word, you know. so and then I'm like, but why is my life like this? If he's real, why is my life like this? You know what? If you really, really real, if you really, really real, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna pull out another yellow M&M. I go in there, and damn it, I pull out another freaking yellow M&M. Right now, see, the thing is that I'm experiencing something that's telling me one thing, but my life is telling me something completely different.
Mm.
Mm.
You know, and then I said, last chance, and I reached in there and I pulled out a brown M&M, and I said, yep, brown M&M is the answer. Those other two didn't matter, right? So I grew
Right.
up and I'm constantly experiencing what I'm experiencing, and things aren't good, and dealing with the poverty, and I've been on my own since I was 15. I went to high school out of an abandoned house. I mean, it was rough. It was rough. My dad was in prison. My mother was living an alternative lifestyle with drug usage. So I'm just like, life is not
Mm.
what a child of God should be experiencing. My life is not that. So I ultimately joined the United States military, man, after graduating high school. And I had to sign up when I was 17 because I was just ready to get out of Detroit and live a different type of life. And, I do my thing. Ultimately, man, I get to visit Israel. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going. If I'm in Israel, I got to go to Jerusalem. But during this particular time, this is the first Persian Gulf
Wait,
era in the
did you
90s.
go to Haifa or Ashdod?
We docked in Haifa.
Okay.
We docked in Haifa, and everybody want to go to the bars in Haifa and everything. I want to go to tour of Jerusalem, right? I want to see what this whole thing is about,
Right.
because I'm still questioning. I'm still searching for, what is this whole thing about life? What is this life thing all about? And I had a buddy of mine who was really heavy into religion. And he was like, oh, we're not supposed to go because there's terrorist activity going on there during that particular time in the 90s. And I'm like, I'm going. So I hop on this bus. I charter, get on this bus. I'm the only, maybe two or three other Americans on there. And we're riding. And all of a sudden, these two Jeeps pull up and they got these big, gigantic guns on the back. and everything. And I'm like, man, I'm about to be on television getting my head cut off, man, because it's only us. We the only military people. Other than that, it's people from Israel on there. And sure enough, they get on the bus and they got these, assault rifles and everything. And everybody starts pulling up their ID and they hold their ID in the air. And I'm like, all I got is my military ID. I don't want to die like this. This is going to suck. But I just went into acceptance mode, right? I'm like, yeah, well, it is what it is. I held my ID up. They looked around. They got off. I'm like, woo, that was interesting. Get to Jerusalem, and they're going through the whole tour. And this is where we believe this happened. And this is where we believe this happened. And this church was built over and over and over because people kept coming in the crusades and destroying the churches. So we kept rebuilding them. And if you look way down there, you'll see the original floor. And this is where we believe that Jesus possibly preached at. And then we went down another road and said, this is where we believe that Jesus carried the cross down. We go into all of these different places. And here I am, me being a logical person saying this is all this historical data. Maybe I need to get into this God thing. Get back to the United States. And at the time I was dating a young lady and she invited me to church. And here I am, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go all in with this, right? And like I said, my whole thing was a roller coaster ride. So I'm high off of this Jerusalem trip and all of this historical stuff that this tour just told me. And then I go to a church, man. And you know how sometimes when you guys know this as pastors and everybody's listening, you've all been in a church where a preacher is up and he's so-called preaching. He said, well, I'm preaching better than y'all saying amen, and all this kind of stuff. And I don't hear nothing out there. And I'm like, I don't hear nothing up there, So he's prompting like, you ain't hearing nothing because I'm not hearing anything, right? So here I'm looking for something and I'm expecting something monumental, some confirmation that this is real and everything, man. And this joker said, he looked directly at me. If you don't clap, something gonna happen to you when you leave this church. Now, mind you, I'm an inner city kid from Detroit. I'm building bombs in the military. I just came out of the Persian Gulf. I want to get up and handle him right there in that church. You gonna tell me, threatening me like something gonna happen to me because I'm not clapping, because you talking out the side of your neck and it's not making sense. I don't understand nothing you're saying because all I hear is and I don't understand what the hell you're saying. And you telling me if I don't clap because of this nonsense that something's going to happen to me. Man, I got up right there and walked out. And I had 2 more years. I think I had like maybe a year and a half left in my enlistment. And I'm like, man, forget that. That's just a bunch of stupid stuff. Get out. Go back to Detroit. Join the police department. 4 months out of the academy, I got into a shootout. Rookie, right? I survived. 2 months after that, I got to another one off duty. Survived. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, whoa, first 6 months out of the police academy, I get into 2, uses of force, deadly use of force. And I'm like, man, this ain't something got to be protecting me. This roller coaster ride and everything. So what I started to do, I went and bought me a Bible, and I read the Bible every day before I went to church. Before I went to work. I wasn't going to church, but I'm reading it. And I'm reading the Psalms, and I'm reading the Proverbs, and I'm reading the Gospels and everything. I'm like, this has got to be it, man. This is what's been protecting me, because, I could have died in both of those situations. One, it was a one-on-one shooting, and then the other, it was 3 guys against me, and I still lived. So I'm like, okay, I'm not thinking like, dude, you just a bad motherfucker. I wasn't thinking that, right? So I'm thinking like, man, I just got lucky, or, I got blessed or something. I ultimately find a church that I felt was teaching me about life. And one thing I can say, fellas, is that the path that I was on concerning habits, decision-making, promiscuity, and all of that kind of stuff, it wasn't good. I got into the church, and all of a sudden these things began to change. So I'm like, okay, my life is changing. I'm making better decisions. This has got to be it. That was in 1999. I ended up becoming a youth pastor. I was in charge of the radio ministry. I led new converts classes. I would speak from time to time, and I'm heavy in it. I mean, I'm in it. Like, I would go in sometimes in my uniform right before I went to work, knowing I had to go to work. I'm like, hey, I just want to get a good 20 minutes in before I go to work. and everybody would stand up and wave at me. I was that dude. Decided to relocate, had a couple of other, near-death experiences in Detroit as an officer, and decided, got kids and everything. Man, I don't want to raise my kids in Detroit. Let's relocate. And that's when I moved out to Arizona. Got ordained as a senior pastor over a ministry, and it grew, and things were great. And I was 100% completely sold out. Stopped drinking, didn't go out. I mean, I go to work, I go to church, I come home. I go to work, I go to church, I come home. I deal with my kids. I'm doing all of the things that you're supposed to do as a man.
Hang on, let me interject something real quick here because see, I know you and I've been around you, right? And so his ministry, Darryl's ministry was in a former shopping mall in the former Anchor spot. So we're talking about a big ministry, right? Big ministry. And the funny thing is that when, Aaron, you've heard this, I've heard this. People say, well, you weren't really saved in the first place, right? But I can say that this cat, cussing, there was no cussing, there was no drinking. It was holiness. And this was Darryl's persona. And so I'm speaking to this to just kind of let everybody know that this is not a guy that was just fronting. He wasn't faking the funk like a lot of these people are. They're one way publicly and they're another way privately. It's like I got to know him and we spent a lot of time together. And
yes.
and so the same thing with you, Aaron, is like I went back and I looked at some of your preachings from the past. And it's funny how people will come to the conclusion that, oh, well, you just weren't saved, and I say that that's absolute bullshit because I know both of you guys, and I can say that both of you guys were completely sold out.
And same to you. Same to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm sure both of us had a testimony concerning you as well. So it was man, it was something else. I was in it. Man. I'm like, this is what life is about, and doing the police thing and everything. And I don't know we talked about this. I used to be a hostage negotiator, man. And, I would be on the line with people who want to take their life. And my whole thing was like, no, that's not what you want to do. And, it's so, man, God got so much for you. And, I'm talking to people on the other line is talking about, and it's working. I'm getting people to not kill themselves and all kinds of stuff like that, man.
So Darryl, let me throw something else at you. Tell us about the incident where you got the injury that ultimately retired you from police work, because that's a great story.
Oh, man. Yes. So let me tell you this. I don't think I ever told you this, day. Remember my first book was called More Than a Servant. I wrote a Christian book called More Than a Servant. Yep. Right. And the premise of that book, it did very well. The premise of the book was you spend upwards to 40 plus hours a week at your job. You probably only spend 5 hours a week in church. Your behavior, your character, your morality has more influence on your job than you'll ever have in church. So therefore, you are more than a servant to what it is that you're serving. You're a beacon of light. You're the touching point. You're this, you're that. And the whole premise was live by example while you're working. You see people in their ups and their downs. When you see people at church, they acting. Oh yeah, how you doing? Blessed and highly favored. Are you really? You can't pay your electric bill, but you blessed and highly favored. Are you really? So I didn't like the fakeness, So my thing is that you see people in their job in their rawest form, and that's where you have the highest level of, of influence. So I wrote this book, and my thought process was, I'm going to sell so many of these books that I'm going to buy my military time back, and I'm going to retire early. That was the premise of it. I don't think I ever told you that, day. I released the book. About a year and a half later, I'm chasing this guy for armed robbery. I catch up with him. He decides he wants to fight. Well, that didn't work out for him, right? So as he's face down on the ground and I'm handcuffing him, other officers are coming in to help me. And now, have you ever heard of a polyester pileup, right? is when a whole bunch of guys in polyester and they jumping on somebody's back while I'm on the bottom of it, and a guy puts his knee right on the back of my wrist and completely snaps my wrist, tore 5 ligaments, and I couldn't move my hand. Right, I lost use of my right arm for almost a year, and I end up having to take a medical retirement. Right.
Yep.
And at this time, I'm still pastoring. I done had many people come up to me and say, hey, we're just going to lay hands on it. We're going to save your career. Do you believe in healing? God can miraculously do this and that. And I'm like, I'm saving people's lives. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm leading my people. Well, I'm doing all these things. Why would I have to lose this career? I know God is going to do all the things that people saying he's going to do. Well, I was still in pain and nothing happened. I end up retiring, right? End up having another surgery. Nothing, no dice. It was what it was, right? So now I'm like, okay, what do I do? Guess what? I got more time for ministry. And let me tell you what happens when you have more time for ministry. You begin to study more. And you begin to really look into what you have been speaking. And I've been speaking it for 15 years, man. I was in it from 99 all the way to 2014 until the time I retired. I was speaking it and speaking it and speaking it. And I'm studying and I'm starting to realize a lot of inaccuracies, a lot of things that don't go with history, a lot of stories that were borrowed. Now, mind you, I went to college and I took the religious studies classes and I saw all of the stories that were borrowed from here and there. And, and I'm like, okay, this is not lining up. So I began to sit down and talk to some friends of mine about it and everything like that. And, I'm like, okay, well, what's this about? And what's that about? And why is this? And why is that? And when you get no answers other than, well, you just got to believe it, that kind of bothered. So here I am, Aaron. 2 more whole years. Now, they know I was on TBN. I had camera crews coming in to record me and put me on television. They loved the style of ministry we had. I was on TBN maybe once a month. I've been interviewed on TBN. And then I would have them say, well, you can't say that. I'm like, why can't I say that? Well, that's not, well, if it's in the Bible and this, that, and the other, then why would I not say that? I don't understand why, so now they want us, they want to filter the message and all of this stuff. So I'm talking about, okay, so, when it comes to giving money in church, what's that really about? And I'm tackling these things. And they know, well, if he talks about giving and, this, that, and the other, and how you're supposed to appropriately give and what tithes and offering really were concerning biblical context, then that will be a problem for us. And I start to recognize that all of it became a certain form of manipulation from a certain standpoint when it came to being on television. Now, this is what I know. You have 2 types of deceivers. You have the person that knows the truth, but still chooses to deceive. And then you have the deceived deceiver. The deceived deceiver is the worst one because they really believe that which they're deceiving you with, which causes you to really believe it. You know what I'm saying? So if you believe something that might be deceptive, but yet for you, it's your truth. You're going to bring it to me like it's your truth. And every single thing that's good to you, you're going to attribute it to that. Well, I got the proof because this happened for me. And I got the proof because I got better. And I got the proof because I got this. And then the person who doesn't have it is going to follow after that because there's the proof. You got results. But guess what? The person who doesn't follow that have proof too. You know what I'm saying? But the person who really wants to not have a certain level of responsibility, I can lay that responsibility on something else. So if it happens for me, then great. I was blessed with it. If it doesn't happen for me, it's just not my time. Instead of getting your ass up and making it happen for yourself. So here I am, you know what I'm saying? And I'm wrestling with this because I'm reading things and I'm studying things and I'm witnessing things and it just wasn't rocking with me. So one day, Derrick, I had a men's fellowship study. And I would meet with all of the guys in the ministry every 21 days. And we do men's mentoring, and I would keep it very light. And we were talking real man talk, like, hey, fellas, y'all are married. We are married. You walking in the mall and all of a sudden Sister Goodbody walked by. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Sister Goodbody walked by and you take a little gander, right? And then you get to thinking and you go home and you comparing Sister Goodbody to your wife for the past 15 years. And your wife might not be Sister Goodbody because Sister Goodbody called her Sister Goodbody for a reason. How do y'all deal with that as Christian men? And we having that kind of conversation, right? I mean, hardcore, in your face.
Oh, I know, because I've attended I attended some of your men's meetings.
Yeah, we having real man talk, right? Now, it was around 2016 at this time. And, I'm fully retired. I started my company. My company's doing well. I'm traveling all over the country. I'm teaching leadership, communication. I became a human behavioral analyst. I was a leadership a performance coach. I'm doing all these things. I'm making good money. I would see Day every now and then. We see each other at the airport. He going to his assignment. I'm going to a different assignment. We run into each other in different places and all kind of stuff like that on a regular basis.
And we trying to see who's in first class on this flight.
Yes. Say, hey man, I'm used to it. Let me check and see if they got an upgrade. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't get in, man. And one day I'm sitting out with my fellas, man. I say, you know what, guys? I don't want to do this anymore. And they was like, whoa. They're like, what do you mean? I don't feel what I used to feel. I don't, you know what I'm saying? It's just not there with me anymore. Now, a lot of these things were life events that were occurring with me. And then other things, it's kind of like, okay, well, this needs to change. And I would fast the first 3 days of every month, like straight up fasting. No television, no radio, no food, just water. First 3 days of every month. I need clarity. I need this. I did that for like a year and a half. Straight, faithfully. Didn't tell anybody about it. This is just what I did. If you weren't in my house, you didn't know it. And life was what it was. And I began to question a lot of things. And, and I told you this before, Dave, when you begin to put certain questions out there and stuff, and it's one question that you hit, and I don't know if I told you this before, man. You said, and I don't know if there's a conversation or a post you did, or I was watching one of your things, but you asked this question. If Jesus is the second Adam, was this Jesus, second Adam is a quickening spirit, right? And he's supposed to be greater than the first Adam. I didn't have to ask for the first Adam's nature. Why do I have to ask for the second Adam's nature?
Come on, man.
And that stuck with me. So wait a minute. I'm just going to receive the first Adam's nature. I didn't ask for that. So by default, if the second Adam came, lived, died, resurrected, and made all things new, then I should be born with the second Adam's nature. If I'm born with the first Adam's nature, I didn't have to ask for that. Why do I have to ask for the second Adam's nature? And that shit, it bothered me. And I'm sitting up here and I couldn't get an answer. And I'm asking everyone, why is that? Why is that? Why is that? And no one had an answer. And the reason was because it wasn't an answer. There was no answer to it. And that began my journey from a question, Dave, that you asked. That began my journey to really, planting my flag and really going into a deep level of questioning. And it was a very arduous and uncomfortable way because I raised my kids a certain way. Because all of my friends that I had knew what I believed and knew what I felt. And I was so adamant about it that I would say, man, I ain't doing that. That ain't God. That ain't this. I would X out of certain situations because that ain't God. I ain't doing that, and all this kind of stuff. And I based my friendships on that. And I built friendships. I raised my kids. I've given them standards and given them morals and taught them everything that I, as a deceived deceiver, believed. And then now it's time for me to recant. Man, that was rough. And I got to the point, fellas, to where I had to tell myself, Darryl, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Right. If you want to ask me a question, I'll answer it. You probably won't agree with it, but I don't owe you an explanation. Yeah. The bottom line is that if you really want
this out there.
Yes, sir.
We have a common friend, Darryl, you and I, Charles J. Ross, right?
Yeah, that's my man, 50 grand.
And Ross, when he was in the hospital, he and I were talking, and he was like, he said, Darryl is living his best fucking life.
Yep.
And Aaron, you would love Ross too, right? You would love Ross.
Ross is that dude, man.
But because Ross is a real guy, but Ross was like, he said, Darryl is living his best fucking life. That's exactly what he said. That I kid you not. That is what he said exactly. You know, Mr. Holiness or Hell. He
Yeah,
said
yeah.
Daryl's living his best fucking life. And that was the thing. Like I was blessed to see you evolve. You know, to because you had an awakening, and it's like you know, it's funny how like Aaron and I we talk about this all the time, like how you know we were I mean we were in that it was all about Jesus. It was all about Jesus. It was all about the gospel, right? And we're all in, but it was like something happened that flipped a switch.
Yep.
Something
Yep.
happened that caused a quickening. Something that happened that caused an awakening, right? And here's the thing. This is where my blessing in this conversation is that I got to watch yours, Darryl, in real time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
See, and Aaron and I, we have, if there's a tagline to this show, it's growing in real time. You know,
Yes.
because we'll talk about something, and he and I will be like, "Holy fuck!" Right?
Yep.
This is something. You know, I'm growing. I'm something is happening to me right now. Right? So as you were going through this, right? As you know, and I'm gonna take you down the path.
Okay.
I'm gonna take you down the path, right? Because I'll never forget when you upgraded your car.
Yeah.
And you got the Challenger, the SRT with the 6 speed.
Yes. The 6 shift. Yes, sir.
And hang on. Here's the thing. People don't understand like things like cars reshape your thinking
Uh-huh.
because it like so Aaron drives the Charger.
Okay.
So that's something y'all have in common, right?
Mopar man.
It's like something about the car you drive changes how you look at things. You know, and you got to see that with me when I bought my Porsche, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like there's something about certain cars that kind of alter your spiritual perspective. And I know this may sound really um how can I say, sound really basic,
But it's not, Day. And
but it's not.
it's not. Let me tell you something. See, when that happened, that was like the beginning. That was the beginning stages, the baby steps, right?
No,
Let me tell you.
and that's what I'm saying. It's like when you got that car, that was when your change began.
Yep. Yep. It started. And let me tell you when it really kicked in. I still have that Challenger, dude. It's sitting in the garage, just chilling, right? But I went and bought me a Jaguar, right? I went and bought a Jag.
That's the convertible, right?
No, not the convertible. I got a F Pace. It's like the F type, but an SUV model F Pace.
So what was the convertible?
Oh, that was the F type.
Okay, I'm just
I don't have that one anymore. I don't have that one anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I have. So I got a couple of cars, you know, and when I got the Jaguar, dude, that's when it really, because you know, you people say, oh well, you know, live a humble life and live this and do this and do
Man,
that.
fuck humility. Honestly.
You know what? Let me tell you what. A lot of people have fake humility, and let me tell you this. This is what I know, right? If we out in the bar and we hanging out, and we know we can handle business, right? You know, I'll tell you, dude. Like, dude, I used to beat people like your ass on the way to a fight. Don't try me. Right, you know, if I know that you know this is light work, you know what I'm saying. But if I choose to take the high road, like, you know what, it ain't even worth it, bro. It is what it is, man. You know what? I have no problem with losing this argument, man. Go ahead. You want me to buy you a drink? Matter of fact, I'll buy you a beer. Just go drink it over there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
right.
that's knowing what I can do to you. That's true humility. Now, on the flip side of that, if it's us and 15 other people and we're not winning this, and then I'm like, oh, well, you know, we all want people. That's not humility. That's me just being and accepting the situation I'm in. So sometimes people will accept the situation and I'm not successful. I'm not this. I'm not that. I don't have this. I don't have that, but I'm humble. No, you're not humble. You're just accepting the situation that you're in. And you calling it humility. You calling it humility. You
I
Boom.
like
calling it
that.
humility. You know, so when you have this false humility, right? True humility is I got it going on, but I don't have to tell you that. I don't have to flex. I don't have to do this. I can do a whole lot of cool stuff, but I don't have to put it out there like that. So when I was, you know, like about to get this other car and, you know, buy this and buy that, and I have a very expensive shoe collection and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, and I got to the point to where I think for most of my life, I was accepting where I was and calling it humility. I'm done with that. Now
Yep.
I'm accepting where I am. Because look, I think I saw this on a TV show. It says, man, everybody can get by being broke. You got to learn to be wealthy. You got to learn. You got to learn to be successful.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people failing all the time. You know, I didn't have to take a class on failure. I didn't have to take a class on how to remain a failure. No one has to take that class. But in order to reach a certain level and perform at a certain way, you got to have the right thought process to it, mindset, thought process, tenacity, and really realizing who you are. And the reason why they call them your results, because they're your results. And what happens is people say, oh, well, everything I got it. Okay. Well, if that's what you feel, you know, that's just not, you know what I'm saying, where I'm at right now. And I'm going to live my best life. Like Ross said, I'm going to live my best life. I'm going to do what it is that I came here to do. And I'm going to have a good time doing it. And the thing is, though, Dave, is that a lot of my mentality really hasn't changed. I just put my actions and my certain level of freedom in a different box. You know, I still go around. I still help people. I'm still generous. I still contribute. I still want the best for individuals. I still uplift individuals. I still am that guy. But I don't care if, if I drink. I don't care if, you know what I'm saying, I drop a couple of F-bombs here and there. I don't care about any of these other things. I'm really not into what you think about me. And most ministries are all about, what does that person think about you? Or, well, I can't do this because this is what the church is going to think and this is this. But you want to do a lot of different things, but you won't, because you feel those invisible handcuffs are binding you. And, you know, once I shook them loose, man, it's kind of like Ross said, I am living my best life, man. I'm loving my life like I never have before.
Well, you know, it's like, I want to say this, like I want to kick this over to Aaron, because, like, you know, here's a guy, he dropped his kids off at school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his kids' friends think that he's rich because he's driving a Charger, right?
Right.
If they
So
only
so
knew.
I remember, Darryl, I'm
I
gonna
could at
kick this
least
up.
upgrade to the Challenger.
No, but watch this, right? Darryl bought his daughter, his because I think your daughter is the older of your two kids. That you bought
Three.
your daughter three. Okay, so but you bought your daughter a Jeep,
Yeah.
right?
She got
And
a
that
Jeep.
and that was a big thing, because when your daughter shows up at school with a Jeep, all of a sudden she's the rich kid in school.
But wait, I gave her younger brother a BMW.
Oh shit! See,
It got TVs in it and everything. So I gave him, so he was the one riding around BMW, leather seats, TV screens in and everything. I gave him a BMW. So now he riding around with the little sunroof BMW up. She pulling up in her Jeep and everything like that. And then, you know, for college, I bought him another car, and I bought his twin sister a car for their college thing, man. Just pay cash for it, you know? And the thing about it, though, Dave, is that I really just had to have a get up and do it yourself mentality in order to get
yep.
to that point. I had to really have a get up and do it yourself. Your results
But
are your
watch this.
results.
It's like people want to say, "Oh, well, look at God, look at God," right? And this is the thing that really frustrates me, because, like, I look at Aaron, and I look at the things that he's accomplished, right? And I look at the things that you've done and the things that you've accomplished, and I say, like, man, God ain't got nothing to do with this. This is like, these are cats that have taken the initiative. They picked up what they have, and they've leveraged it to do things that they want, that they feel like they need to do.
Yep.
And that's the same thing with me. It's like, I've got 3 kids at home. I have 2 kids that are adulting completely, right?
Right. Right.
They've got, they've got car payments, mortgage, rent, they got 700 better credit, right?
Right.
They're killing it, right?
Right.
But the 3 that I have at home, I got one that he's got an Audi. I got a BMW convertible that they all have access to, and then I got this Tesla, and then my wife has a Toyota Sequoia, and they have access to all of this, right? So it's like what I've learned is that the God, the great Sky Daddy that we were taught to appreciate, worship, and serve had nothing to do with any of this. That this is all what, listen, as I'm looking at these 2 gentlemen here, Aaron Thomas and Darryl Rivers, I'm looking at, and I hate the term self-made men, right? Because the reality is that we all have help.
Yeah.
We all have
Self-aware.
people.
Self-aware.
What's that?
Self-aware.
Self-aware.
Yeah.
That we, we recognize the help that we've had, but we know that this is our effort compounded by someone who has poured into our lives and helped us.
Yep.
So anyway, I say all that to say is that Darryl, the difference between you and Aaron, and that both of you guys are like 2. I mean, listen, you guys are 2 of my most trusted confidants, right? 2 of my best friends. But the thing is that I've seen you evolve out of the God first mentality into, okay, this is what Darryl has done. This is what Darryl has accomplished. These are the people that have poured into Darryl's lives. And Aaron, to a lesser degree, I've seen the same thing with you. That these are the things that you've accomplished, but these are the things or these are the people that I've seen pour into your life. And and so for everybody that's deconstructing, it has nothing to do with this imaginary playmate that you've been taught to serve. It has everything to do with your own grit, your own moxie, your own determination. But in addition to that, what leverages that, what expounds that, what springboards that are the people in your life who have spoken into your life, who have poured into your life, who have invested in your life to make you who you are.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm gonna kick it over to Aaron real quick because I know he's chomping at the bit to get in. And
Yeah, no, I enjoyed listening to Darryl, listening to your story, man, and could relate on, a lot of different levels. I'm curious what your transition was like
Oh my God.
from, out of ministry. Like, you're living your best life now, very much like myself. You got to a point in ministry where it's like, I'm not feeling this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't fit with me anymore. At least that's how I understood what you said. And so I'm curious how you got from that point to living your best life. Like, what was that transition like for you?
And I can say it was arduous, man. It was hard because, sometimes when you spent a lot of time living, thinking, and believing a particular thing, sometimes you don't want to let it go. Right. And that was a big thing for me. I just didn't want to let it go. Honestly, Aaron, I did not want to let it go. And it was very hard. And it took a while to where it's inwardly, I was thinking certain things, but I wasn't outwardly living it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I moved here to Texas, I'm in Texas now, right? I moved to Texas, and I was like, you know what? Let me try to give it a shot. But I'm thinking certain things, but let me give it a shot. So what I do, I go into a ministry, and it was a Bible study, and they're talking about certain things, and I've been preaching this thing for a while. I know it from front to back, so I'm like, well, I don't think that's what it's saying. And I don't think this, and I don't think that, and I don't think this, and I'm coming at it from a logical perspective.
Right.
You know, I'm very, very logical about it. I'm like, well, no, I don't think that this is this and this is that and da 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 da. So I'm going in and I'm saying that this is that. So now all of a sudden they're like, hey, were you in ministry before? And I'm like, I was. We would really love your assistance. I'm like, nah, that's not me anymore. You know, and I start to realize just in going in and having that question asked of me, how much I didn't want to do it anymore.
So,
And,
but you had, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Darryl, but
no.
you had let go of your church in Arizona?
Oh, yeah. I handed it over. I
Okay.
handed it over before I moved. I handed it over, you know, then I rolled out. And like I said,
listen,
you know,
this is a camp that had about 200 members. This wasn't a small church.
It was, we and the thing is that it was the crazy thing about it though, was I still have good relationships with most of those people. We still talk. We still, you know, we have our conversations, and, you know, some people still believe what they believe. And some people are realizing like, yeah, you know, that the one thing that used to get me was that whole hell thing. I said, yeah, you know, it's almost like I go in the backyard, I dig a hole, fill it with gasoline, set it on fire. And I look at my spouse and she's pregnant. I said, what you do that for? Well, we about to have this baby, but the moment it is displeasing us, just throw it in the fire. Why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? You know, why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, you know, I got a certain room in the house, you know, it's like a black hole. If you walk in there, you're going to fall and it's going to be bad. It's broken glass and everything in there. Well, who put it there? Oh, I put it there, but just don't go in there. Why you put it there? Just to tell you don't do it. But I put a tree and it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So wait, I'm going to create something that's going to really fuck you up and tell you don't do it. Just because. So I'm sitting up here, I'm thinking about all these things, and, you know, I would have conversations with friends of mine, and we're friends. We're friends to this day, you know. And I'll ask just simple questions, right? Something as simple as, you know, well, you know, the Bible says that, you know, you're not supposed to have a spirit of fear, right? He didn't give us a spirit of fear, right? Yeah. So what happened when Ananias and Sapphira walked into the tent? And, you know, they said that they didn't tell Peter the truth. And, you know what I'm saying? They fell dead and everything. And then the Bible says that the whole camp was filled with fear. And then everybody started doing what they were supposed to do. So wait a minute. Yep. If the camp was filled with fear and they began to really join together because of that spirit of fear, isn't that contradictory that God didn't give a spirit of fear? Because he knew if I cause these people to die, the camp is going to be filled with a spirit of fear. Why would I do that if I'm not the giver of the spirit of fear? Also, God is not the author of confusion. I'm freaking confused. Yeah. Why? I didn't write it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of contradiction there. You know, so when I begin to have these conversations, when I say, look, I'm not trying to change your belief system. I'm not attacking what you believe. I'm just asking, a thought that can't be tested should never be trusted.
Ooh, I like that. Man. So
look, put it like this, right? When everybody went and bought their car, did you test drive your car?
Yeah.
Why? You just have faith. Just buy it and
just
drive away.
Faith.
Everything is fine.
Yeah.
Right? But every single person that goes to buy a car, they test drive it. If I can't test it, I should not trust it. So if you get mad, if I go and I try to buy a car and I say, hey, can I test drive it? And the person gets mad. Oh, why do you want to test drive it? Just buy it. What do you think? Well, why do Christians do that? Why? Like, so what's the problem? What's the deal? Because if it really runs the way it's advertised as running, then why are you getting mad when I question it? I want to test it. You know, so that was my thing, Aaron. I would have those conversations, and the more I'm gonna tell you, Aaron, to really answer your question, the transition, what really helped me accomplish that transition and really step into what it is, it wasn't the Bible.
Yeah.
It was the people. It was the people. And when I question certain things, you're going to get upset with me because I'm honoring you and asking you a question about a spiritual biblical thing that I don't understand. And I'm coming to you for an answer and you're getting upset. Why? I'm saying, look, I don't have an answer to this. Can you help me? Why is that? Why is it that there's no historical evidence of any Israelites ever being in Egypt. Why is that?
Yep.
Why is that?
Yeah.
You know, why is it that, you know what I'm saying, per biblical history, the earth is only 7,000 years old? What? It's only 7,000 years old. You track the timeline of the Bible, the earth is 7,000 years old. So what's, you know, we have stuff that shows that it's millions of years old. So what is that about? And what is this and what is that? So when I ask these questions, I'm literally asking questions.
Yep.
You know, so if every living creature was destroyed on the flood, so did they kill the sharks too? Because everything was. Did the whales die? How did that polar bear get from Turkey all the way back to Antarctica?
Hey, you know what? This is the thing that I said is that like the kangaroos
They
hopped
hopped all the way to
all the way
Australia.
back from Mount Ararat to Australia, right? And they collected all the bones of the kangaroos that died,
And put them in Australia.
so they didn't leave a trace.
Yeah.
Makes your
You know,
head hurt.
so Aaron, it really got to the point to where I would say something outlandish, completely outlandish, that doesn't make any sense. And like, well, you expect me to believe that? And I would just go, aha. Right? You know what I'm saying? So it would be something is you know what I'm saying? Well, hey, you know, I'm only 15 years old. What are you talking about? I'm only 15. I'm just, you know, I got the gray in here, and, you know, I got a long history of, you know, born and raised in Detroit, and I graduated in the 90s, went to the war, and, you know, I did all of that. And I'm actually a retired person, but I'm actually 15. Well, that don't make any sense. Exactly. So basically, the Bible tells us that the earth is 7,000 years old. We got all of this history and proof that it's a lot older than that. So you want me to believe that? You don't believe I'm 15 because you have historical proof that I'm not.
Wow.
So you want me to go and just say, oh, well, have faith that I'm 15 and have a drink with me while I'm 15. Damn it. You know, so when I have these statements, and it's not like, look, this is a good one for you. I don't
Wait a minute, are we encouraging a minor right now?
Yeah, pretty much. And, you know, hey, you know, have faith that, you know, hey, it is what it is, right? But let me tell you what I used to say all the time. I don't have to tell you your car is dirty. I'm just going to shine the shit out of mine and park next to you. You'll figure it out. So when I'm not telling you that what you believe is wrong. I'm not telling you that what you believe is illogical. I'm just going to give you a couple of questions and you'll figure it out. I'm just going to shine my car up real good, and I'm going to kindly park next to you, and I'm going to smile, and I'm going to play some music, and you're going to figure it out. You know, so I don't get into the debates back and forth. Now, I don't do it any longer. Because my thing is, if you want to fight for your ignorance, you can keep it. I'm good. So yeah.
Something else you said, Darryl, that I want to just throw out as part of the discussion to you and Derrick. You talked about how like it didn't fit you anymore. You had things that were going on the inside, but it wasn't necessarily being reflected on the outside. And I think that's all part of the transition that we go through, right? Because you don't just like start thinking and then change your whole life the next day.
Right.
But one of the things that was really profound for me, like that forced the issue for me, because I was all in, like Derrick said, I was all in. I mean, it's my entire life. I got my sole source of my income, relationships, social, everything, right? Family, everything. But I began to think about integrity. We talk about integrity a lot in the church. And I began to think about integrity in a different way. You know, and it's always been important to me, but I had always previously thought about integrity from the standpoint of, okay, if you make a promise, you do your best to keep the promise. You own your shit, right? If you mess up, you don't try to weasel your way out of it. You own your shit, and all that stuff. But also being authentic is the essence of integrity. I mean, the word integrity, I'm sure you know, comes from integer. It means to be one, to be whole. So if I'm feeling one way on the inside, or I'm thinking one way on the inside, or the inside is no longer matching the outside.
Yeah.
If I maintain the outside because it's comfortable for me, or I maintain the outside because that's how I'm getting paid, or that's where my social currency comes from, or whatever the case may be, I have no integrity if I'm totally different on the inside. And I began to think about integrity totally differently, and equate it, or at least relate it to authenticity.
Yes.
I can no longer fit into this pastor mold. I can no longer fit into this radical Christian mode. I can no longer fit into the person that I've been. I've outgrown it.
Yep.
And integrity requires that I cause the outside to match the inside, if that makes sense. So I just want to throw it to you guys and kick this around and see what you guys think about that.
Oh yeah, that was all the way me, Aaron. It got to a point, like I said, man, I've had, I remember some of my last messages, people say, well, I feel like you're more of an inspirational, motivational speaker now. You're really not teaching the word.
Mm.
And I said, yeah, you're right. You know, you're absolutely right. If I tell you, be a good person, and you know, all of this kind of stuff, I really want you to be a good person. Not be a good person because if you don't, this is what's going to happen to you. If you don't, if you're not a good person, you're just an asshole. It's not. So nobody's going to get you. You're just an asshole. Don't be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Period. You know. So it never. I really stopped believing in the. You know, if you do this, this is what's going to happen to you. Guess what? Sometimes you're gonna do a lot of good things for people, and nothing good is going to happen to you in return. That's just life. It happens that way.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know what? You're going to be patient, and you're going to be this. And you're going to be hoping for the best and wishing for the best, and it's not going to happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's just reality, right? So you can't sit up here and say, oh, well, you know, this, that, and the other. And you said something really big, Aaron. You said something about authenticity, integrity, and promises. Now, this is the big thing. There are a lot of promises in the Bible.
Mm.
If you do this, this is going to happen.
Right.
I did a lot of that stuff, Aaron. I did a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've sat beside some of my church members as they're dying.
Yeah, right.
And I'm praying for them.
Mm-hmm.
Promise unfulfilled. I've dealt with individuals who I told them what the Bible says. If you just give, pressed down, shaken together, this, that, and that, so will men give into your bosom. I did all of that. You know what? Well, I'm having problems with this, that, and the other, and so. Well, this is what God says. If you do this, you're going to be blessed financially. You're going to be blessed coming. You're going to be blessed going. You're going to be blessed in the city. You're going to be blessed in the field. You're going to be blessed here. You're going to be blessed there. All of your life is blessed and everything like that. The Bible also says that when you live a good life, not only will you see your children, but you see your children's children, and all of these different kind of promises that are in there that I'm saying, oh no, this is not going to happen. This person's not going to die a premature death, because the Bible says that when you live a godly life, that you not only will see your children, but you see your children's children, and she hasn't seen her children's children yet. So therefore, this is not going to happen. That promise went unfulfilled. And all of these failed promises.
Right.
If I keep buying a ticket to go see John Wick, and when I go in there, Baby Shark is playing, eventually I'm gonna stop buying tickets to go see John Wick. I'm not a fan of Baby Shark.
You get into something else here, like how distorted we put out, and I'm saying we because I did the same thing. I mean, I experienced the same thing. I'm sure Derrick did to some degree as well. We put out this distortion of cause and effect. If you give into our ministry, this cause is going to affect abundance over here. Or if we anoint you with oil,
you don't have faith. If you don't, you didn't give in faith. Come on.
Right. And but you said something really powerful at the beginning. You said, I don't remember how you said it, but basically, if it's going to be, it's up to me. That's how I would paraphrase it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a more accurate perception of cause and effect than this sort of like really hyper magical thinking that sometimes we put out in religion. And so I think that's a big thing for people. Is like people want to know how, like, how do I change my life? How do I get from, broke, busted, and disgusted, as TD Jakes used to like to say, to living my best life. And we're offering hows that are filtered through this unreliable system that has
so good
tested or proven out in our own lives in many ways, and yet we're offering that to people as these are the solutions. This is the how to get there. And so if nothing else, that's kind of like the biggest shift that I'm hearing, Darryl, from where you were to where you are, was sorting out that sort of cause and effect distortion that religion gives us.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go grab another drink. I got something really important to say on that. One second.
So while Darryl is away, I'm gonna say something because one of the last things that he and I did as a joint project, we had the deputy chief of police of the Surprise Police Department, Darryl and Jeremiah Johnson, and we talked about police brutality. And one of the things that that we talked about was how if you see people as human beings, even as a law enforcement officer, that if you see people as human beings, it changes how you affect your policing. And so one of the things that was really awesome about that, the outcome of that, was that because we had Darryl and we had Jeff Leggett, who was the deputy chief of police of Surprise, that basically they were saying the same thing, that if we see people as human beings, now we can come to some effective policing. And now it's not race based, it's not class based. It's simply that I'm dealing with another human being. And I thought that was one of the most profound things, Darryl. While you were gone, I was speaking of,
Oh, I
this.
heard everything. I just went over here. I heard everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
that that when you came in and talked about that, I think that was one of the most profound discussions that had ever taken place about community policing and police brutality that had ever been spoken. And it was sad because it was sad to me because it didn't get the exposure that I thought it should have gotten. But I think that you and Jeff were saying the same thing, that basically, okay, if I'm policing, my job, I'm sworn to protect and to serve the community that I'm engaged with, right? That if you take that seriously, and if you say that this is my mantra, it was like, I can't, man, I'm having trouble articulating this, but this is like one of the most profound, that was one of the most profound things that I had heard about community policing and how to affect or how to interface policing with the community that I had ever heard.
Yeah. But you know what, D, man, it's just life, man. It's in every aspect of life. So I had a conversation with my sister on the way in, right? And this ties in. She's a leader in her organization. And she was sitting up here telling me, oh my God, I did this, I did that. I left a note. I told them everything that I need to do, they need to do. And they called me and asked me all of the questions that I left a note for. And they just irritate me. They pissing me off and da 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 da. And I said, okay. I said, can I serve you for a minute? She was like, well, yeah. I really am cautious about how I say fix, help, and serve. And I'll tell you why, right? So I said, can I serve you in a minute for a second? She says, yeah. I said, if you went and you were getting on the airplane and the pilot is looking like, really? So all of y'all got somewhere to go. I guess I'm just going to be air taxiing everybody around here because everybody got somewhere to go and everybody got this and everybody got that and all of this other kind of stuff, right? And, they kind of, they kind of really go there and you kind of like, would you feel comfortable on that airplane? And she says, well, no. I said, what if you go into the doctor's office and the doctor walks out and says, hey, really? So you just sick. I guess I got to fix you. Everybody's sick. I got to go ahead and do all of this kind of stuff. Everybody, y'all can never stay healthy. I just got to go ahead and deal with this, right? I said, would you feel comfortable with having that person as your doctor? She said, no. I said, so you don't want to deal with a doctor that hates patients and you don't want to deal with a pilot that hates passengers, right? She
No,
says,
let me throw this out here because I actually asked my doctor one time. I had to have a procedure done, and I asked the doctor number one question: did you get laid last night? I mean,
yeah,
did you get
right,
some pussy last night? You
right.
know, how was your commute in this
How you
morning?
doing today, right?
I want to know all of this before you go poking and prodding into my body. Because
Yes.
if you ain't, if you didn't have your shit together coming in, don't go invading my
Don't
body.
go messing with me, right? Right? And, and,
Serious.
and, and and the thing is, though, she agreeing with me, right? I don't want a doctor that hates patients. I don't want a pilot that hates passengers. I said, so do you think that the people want a leader that hates followers?
Mm.
People are going to get sick and the doctor has to take care of them. Passengers want to go somewhere. The pilot is going to have to take them there. And followers aren't going to get it right. And they're going to need people to lead them into the correct way to do things. So the bottom line is that their inability to do the job the way you want them to do is employing you and paying you very well. You should love it if they behave the way that they behave. Now, I say that to say this. It's the exact same way with police officers, man. I always used to tell my guys when I was a sergeant, there's two type of people you're going to arrest. You're going to arrest the one guy that you're going to see in Walmart a year later, and you're going to arrest the other guy whose family you're going to see in Walmart a year later. Treat everybody right. Treat every freaking body right. If you treat people like they're human beings, they'll begin to behave like them. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, right? In that sense, I truly believe, 100% believe all people are equal. There are no such thing as unimportant people. They're just misinformed and mistreated people, but there's no such thing as unimportant people, right?
Right.
So the thing is that, and another thing that ministry really had me going on and really irritated me with was that there was a hierarchy of how people are to be treated and honored and respected.
Yep.
And the thing is this: if God has picked me, then I'm better than you, and I get to sit in the front row, and you get to sit here, and I get to get this parking spot, and you get to do this. And guess what? You have to give, but I don't have to give. And you know what? Only certain people can pray for me because I am this, and I don't let anybody just lay hands on me. So now you're special. And that's the reason why we have police issues, because police think they're special. And it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. So they're really taking a construct that they're saying, hey, this construct don't work, but you're an emulation of that construct. You're special because you've been chosen.
Let me take you back to a conversation. You and I were in a breakfast organization or a
Yeah,
breakfast group
yeah. I
with
remember.
people,
Uh-huh.
right? And everybody was like, okay, the apostle has spoken. Now that was you, because see, here's the thing. You had publicly acknowledged that. Now, Ross and I have been affirmed as apostles behind the scenes, but you were up front. So I remember that there was a couple, and you will know who they are. They
I know.
said we must defer to the apostle.
Yep. 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 I remember.
You know this conversation.
Yep. 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 And I was like, nah, like I never was that guy, man.
But no, you were never that guy, because see, here's the thing. You knew that both Ross and I had been affirmed as apostles.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that, but you were the public face. So this one couple, they were like, we need to defer to the apostle,
Yep. Yep.
not
Yep.
knowing, and just like how you said, no, I'm not the guy.
I'm not that guy, man. That's
You said that. You said that then.
and the thing is that, man, certain people, I think that if that's your only source of significance, then yeah, you're never gonna let it go.
Yeah, that's the key right there.
You're never gonna let that go, man. You're gonna ride that until the wheels fall off, and that's when I say, you have two different types of deceivers. You got deceivers who know the truth, and you got deceivers. And I truly feel as though sometimes people really know. People really
So let me say
they
this.
know, man. They know.
Let me say this about you, Darryl, is that you were always the guy that said, okay, no, we need to double click into the group.
Mm-hmm.
Not I'm the ultimate arbiter of this.
Right. Yeah.
You were never that guy.
And I was
And
believing then. I was hardcore in it at that
no, I
point. Hell, I
know.
never was. Yeah.
You know what?
Oh, man.
Let me share a story, right? Let me share a
Yeah.
story. I remember one time I was at a function and I pulled up in my Porsche. And you and this other apostle were standing out in the parking lot when I pulled in, right? And so when we went into the service, right, at the end of the service, dude was trying to prophesy over me, right?
Yes. Yes.
He tried to prophesy over me, but you came back to me on a sidebar and said, "Look, don't let that nigga prophesy." I'm serious because
Yeah.
I'm saying it the way you said it.
Yeah.
Don't let
I
him
know.
prophesy over you because he all he saw was the car.
Yep.
Wow.
All he saw was the
And
car.
so listen, I went
Right.
back to this guy on the strength of what Darryl said because I said this apostle has said this. And dude had no response, Aaron. He had no response. All he was like, okay, he couldn't even come back and say, I fucked up.
Yep. Nope. Couldn't. And matter of fact, he said some foul stuff, some crazy stuff to somebody else in the meeting. And I was
Oh
like, what
man,
is this? Who is this person?
I don't miss some days.
Oh man. Oh God.
I did not miss
And
those.
and the thing is this, right? I believe what I believe, man. And I believed it so much so as I wouldn't accept any nonsense in it either.
Yeah, I was the same way. Daryl.
No nonsense. Don't come up here. If we having a function and everybody get 2 minutes to come
No,
up there and say what they
listen,
got to say, and you want to sit up
I
there for
was
10
up
minutes,
there
no,
and,
we ain't doing that.
dude called me up to the altar and told me to hold on to this shofar. So Darryl came back to me the next day. He said, Dave, what the fuck were you thinking? I mean,
I forgot about
seriously,
the show.
that
I
was what
forgot
he
about the
said.
show
He's
part.
like, dude, that was you. He said that wasn't you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
yeah.
He called me on that. Because I'm like, okay, I'm just going with the flow of the service, right?
Yeah. Trying to
I'm
see, like, we don't know everything. Maybe you about to expose me to something. I don't know. But then afterwards, I'm like, all right, yeah.
no. Darryl was like, he said, "What the fuck were you thinking, Day?" I never
Yeah.
forget that, and that was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, though, I really had a major. I ain't gonna say I had a beef with people. I never really had a beef with people. I just really the actions, man, the certain actions and the shenanigans that people go through. Oh well, I had one guy sit up here and we sitting up here in the middle of a conversation. He go, wait. Okay, God. Okay. Oh, God is telling me, like, man, get the hell out of here with that bullshit. Like, it made me so mad. I'm like, come on, bro, stop. Like, just stop, bro. Like, just stop. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, like I said, I was engrafted, man. I was all the way in, but I knew what was bull
no,
crap.
but you know what though? It was that day in that service where I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that you were one of the real ones. I knew at that point. I said, matter of fact, I came back and said it to my wife. Right?
uh,
I said, Darryl Rivers is the real deal. I said he's the real deal. Because listen, it's like, and let me tell you this, like when I pastored Agape Dominion, right?
yep.
There were only two guys that came, that were outside of the ministry that participated in what we're doing. That was you or Ross, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
you were the only one that said, all right, dog, you know, what he said in that service, that it did not pertain to you at all.
Right.
You were that
Yeah.
guy.
I remember that, man. I specifically remember that, man. And the thing is, though, Day, is that I got to a point, man, to where I just didn't care what people thought. I really did. I was kind of like, you know what, y'all, like, look, if you were living the life that I wanted to live, maybe I would care what you thought. But you're not living the life I want to live. So I don't care what you think. You know, and I got to that point,
Like,
you know, and I'm sure, like you said, Aaron, you kind of like, you know what, this got to be, you know, it got to be what it is. You know, what I'm feeling on the inside is not, I'm not reflecting on the outside, and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And I was really in that vein. And I think the more I ventured into that vein, the more brash I was with, man, this is some bull crap. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm already on the fence, and y'all pushing me all the way over it with all of this bull.
Yeah. My favorite proverb is beware the naked man that offers you a shirt.
I love it. I love it.
There's a lot of naked people offering pastors and leaders and entrepreneurs and whatever else their shirt, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what, though? This is what I will tell you guys, fellas, in some of my actual thoughts, man. I do feel and believe that there are some principles that are written that I do live.
Yeah.
Right? As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I believe that to the core. Right? You know, don't argue with a fool. Don't, you know what I'm saying? It's so many different things. Love your neighbor. You know, I live that. I live that. What I don't live is, you know, I got to follow all these rules.
Right.
You know, and if I don't, I'm going to be burning in fire for eternity. Like,
yeah.
But you love me. That's a little different. Like, it's nothing. There is not one thing on this planet that any of my children, friends, family, a freaking stranger, to where I will set them on fire and keep pouring gasoline on them forever. It's nothing. You know, that my kids could ever do that would make me do that to them.
Right.
You know, not one thing. It's not. If I went off and I dropped my kid off at the mall and I left a notepad and I just tossed it on the notepad and I never talked to them again. I said, just read that notepad, you'll be okay. That's not a good parent. But I'm never going to talk to you. I'm just going to leave you a notepad. I'm going to leave you a book, but I'm never going to come back and see you again. That's just not, come on. Like, really, like, and these are the things that were in my head. And I remember, Aaron, I would sit up, man, 3 o'clock in the morning, like, I'm having a struggle. If you real, come talk to me in my bedroom right now, because I'm struggling.
Yep.
I don't want to not believe. I don't. And for a year straight, man, every other night I'm out there and I'm going there because I don't want to not believe.
Yeah. Darryl, I got to a similar point where I was like, you know, because you got all that shit in your subconscious that, you know, you've been exposed to and you taught and you believed and whatever else. And in my case, I grew up with it, right? I grew up under a hellfire and brimstone preaching sort of atmosphere. And after a while, I got to the point where it's like, okay, either the devil is working way harder to deceive me.
Yes.
To save me.
And he's watching them.
Or something's up. And if God's going to, you know, stand off in the corner while he's letting the devil lead me down this path, like all these preachers are telling me that this is what's happening to me, then he's not the God he says he is.
Exactly.
And that was one of my breaking points where it's like, okay, maybe it's all bullshit.
Well, this was the thing that did it for me, is that both of you guys know that I was married before and my wife died of cancer in 1994, right? I stayed close to this family for, you know, pretty much in perpetuity after that. More of them were in attendance at me and Angie's wedding than my own kinfolk,
Wow.
right? Now, watch this, right? My mother-in-law died almost 3 years ago. She did not die a dignified, for a 95-year-old woman, she should have gone to sleep. And that should have been the end of it. She struggled and she was in pain in her death, right? This is a woman who buried 6 of her 7 children. She buried 6 of her 7 children and 2 of her grandchildren.
Dang.
Where is the God in that? And that was a thing that pushed me over the edge, because I'm like, if there is a God, this God should honor this woman's faith.
Yep.
95 years she lived, and 55 of those that she lived honoring God.
Wow. Yeah.
And God did not reciprocate her. That was a
But if
problem for me.
but every day he blessing people with parking spaces in Walmart. Ooh, thank you, Jesus. This is a good parking spot.
Exactly, Daryl.
Right?
Exactly.
Oh God. Look at God. This is a good parking spot. Oh, this was on sale. I need that. Look at God. Okay.
Wait a second. What? Let me kick it back in your court, right? God bless you with a 6-speed Hemi Challenger. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He blessed you, Aaron. He blessed you with a Charger. Derrick, he blessed you with a Tesla. You got it going on. But
But what
this
about the
woman
kids?
got to suffer. She's got to bury 6 of her 7 children.
Yeah.
Where? Who the fuck is that God?
I'm gonna give
That
you a
was
card,
the
but
thing for
yeah.
me.
Yep. Yep.
That was it.
And
And
that
when I saw that, guys, listen. At that point, I was like, because let me give you a story. My dad,
uh-huh.
my dad is 86 years old, and he had COVID, and he has an LVAD, right? It's like an artificial heart pump,
Okay.
right? He was on the ventilator for 2 months. Every Friday, we have a family meeting with the physicians, and they're saying, well, Dick has led a good life. You all should just let him go. He's lived a good life, right? But my stepmom was like, no, my husband's got another purpose, right? Okay, great,
Mhm.
right? Meanwhile, my mother-in-law is she's in the hospital, and she gets out. My dad's still in the hospital. So she goes back in the hospital, and they say, like, oh, your organs are failing. Your organs are failing. It is pretty much, and so she's in, so meanwhile, my dad is coming out of the COVID thing. He's coming out, and he's a testimony to the goodness of God. But my mother-in-law, she died.
Ah.
Mm.
She died right before Christmas of 1992.
You're
Mm.
right.
And I'm looking at this now. I can see I've got a unique purview because I get to see the velocity and the volume, the quality and the quantity of the prayers on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yet my mother-in-law dies. My dad lives, and he's still alive. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, okay, God, if you're real, you owe me a fucking explanation.
Right. Right.
You need to tell me why my mother-in-law passed, but my dad's still alive. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my dad, and I'm glad that he's here. But God damn it, you owe me an explanation as to why my dad is here and my mother-in-law is gone, because I see the volume and the velocity and the quality and the quantity of the prayers being offered, and it's a wash, guys.
Yep. 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 It is. It is. It is. It is. So yeah, I look at it, you know what I'm saying, and man, it's so like Aaron said, those promises, man, either they're gonna, be fulfilled or not. And if I have a promise to myself to be me, and when I'm not being me and I'm not holding up to my own standards, I feel bad about it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel bad about not keeping my promises as a man. I'm fallible. You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect. But then there's the entity that says they're perfect, but doesn't keep any promises.
To me are an issue. If I tell my kids I'm going to do something and I don't do it, that is an issue. Darryl, if I tell you I'm going to do something and I don't do it, that is an issue. Aaron, if I tell you I'm going to do something and I don't do it, that is a fucking issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
But God gets a hall pass.
Yeah.
His ways are not our ways.
There you go, Aaron.
Listen,
well, hey, fellas,
we need to go ahead and wrap this up. Aaron, I'm going to kick it over to you because you do our closing on our shows. So I'm going to kick it over to you. Darryl, thank you for coming out to join us tonight, man. This has been one of the most incredible blessings of my life. I mean, and I say that because I get to connect you and Aaron together. That is the blessing.
Yeah, Darryl, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. It was like sharing sacred space with you. Just
right on, man. I feel the same, man. I feel the same.
Yeah,
I feel the same.
Yeah. So,
Chandra,
everybody,
I really want to answer your question, Chandra. You said, is there really any rhyme or reason to living and dying? I mean, we live, then we die. Yeah, there's a rhyme or reason. The beauty of it is that you get to define what that rhyme or reason is. No one should be able to write that sentence for you. You get to define that. I've defined mine. I think that we all need to go ahead and write our sentence for our life and then live our best to make that sentence the truth. And you get to define that. Some people have said that their life doesn't mean anything, and as a result, it doesn't. And some people say that their life is going to mean something great, and as a result, it does. I just challenge you to write a damn good sentence. Write a damn good sentence and live every single day of your life trying to make that sentence true. It does have rhyme and reason.
That is a perfect way to close it, man.
Yeah, I agree. Perfect closing.
Right on.
So Aaron, hey, you do it as no one else does it. So I'm going to kick it over to you.
I don't know about that, but as we always say at the end of one of these, thank you for coming to our TED Talk. Peace and hair grease, and peace out. Love you guys.
No hair grease for me, but hey, love y'all, man.
Hey, Darryl, love you. Aaron, love you, man. Listen, this has been one of the high points of my life is connecting the two of you.
Awesome. Look forward to connecting some more with you, Darryl.
Right on. You guys take care, man. Be well.
Peace out.
Love y'all.
All right.